Hello world, welcome to the 82nd Climate Change Emergency Protest Rally here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It is July 3rd, 2020. As I said, I'm here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, USA. Presently today, the temperature in Gettysburg is going to be 96 degrees. The average is 85, so we're 10 to 11 degrees higher than that if it doesn't push 100 degrees. That's 35.6 degrees Celsius for my friends elsewhere around the world who are in the Celsius world. Presently, the coronavirus in the United States is going out of control. It's equal to the climate change situation where there's extreme denialism as to what's happening. You're the people in charge, Pence and Trump, who say we're flattening the curve and everything's under control, and yet it's worse than what it was when it first started. So, for example, Florida just added 10,000 new cases yesterday. Texas is adding 10,000 a day. They had opened up the society for restaurants and beaches, and now they're having to close them. So we're in an economic meltdown as well, and through this capitalism, things aren't just always so peachy keen. So hopefully people will wake up and realize that we've got a bad set of leaders, and I don't mean just the idiot in the White House and all. It's just systemic throughout the whole Congress and all as well. They're not doing what they need to do to tackle coronavirus, and they're not doing and to protect the citizens of the United States economically as well. People aren't going to be making it, and you're going to have people being evicted. For example, they had 3 months of moratorium on paying your rent, but what they did is on the fourth month, this month, they piled all previous 3 months into paying this month. So people won't have money to pay off 4 months of rent all at once because they haven't been working at all anyway. So you're going to have evictions in the hundreds of thousands, I would think, around the whole country. Then it spins off into more economic meltdown. You're going to have homelessness, crime, social insecurity in a social way, social collapse. But, what the hell? At least Nancy Pelosi gets to have a nice refrigerator and eat ice cream. So, both sides are to blame for what's going on. And, please don't be so dogmatic that you believe your party is the perfect party, because it isn't. We're in this situation because of both parties, whether it's through coronavirus or climate change. You don't have a good set of leaders in charge and people that won't tell you exactly what's happening. They sugarcoat stuff, or they do horrendous stuff behind the scenes while on the surface they're screaming and yelling. So basically it's a kabuki show. It's theater. It's Broadway. They act like they're doing something for you, but in reality they're all about the corporations, and that's all they care about. They do not care about you, the individual. So tomorrow is the 4th of July for the United States, which is America's Independence Day from Great Britain back in 1776. So, it's a celebration, but in reality, what are we celebrating? We're more divisive than we have been since the Civil War. We have issues with racism and economic collapse and disproportionate ownership of resources, such as the rich are extremely powerful and the poor are extremely poor, and the middle class is being separated. And it's very, very few at the top, and most of the middle class is being pushed down into upper lower class. They don't realize it. They think things are okay, and they're really not that way. And when you're living hand to mouth, or you're in big trouble after one paycheck, something is seriously wrong. So essentially it's a damning sentence I'm giving on capitalism itself. This type of capitalism does not work. A certain amount of incentive is needed, but more of a socialistic attitude and government would be needed at this point. And obviously, because every man for himself doesn't work in a situation like this. And it definitely won't work when climate change hits its full pace, and I'll get into all that as far as where I think we are in a few seconds here. The biggest story in the history of humanity is the Arctic going on right now. And I don't mean just the Arctic North Pole. I mean the whole Arctic region, such as around the Arctic Circle and just below that and above that as well. Siberia 2 weeks ago was over 100 degrees. Some people say it was 105 degrees. I don't think it matters at that point because it's ridiculous in temperature. You have Siberia right now today. I was looking at earthnull.net, and there's parts of Siberia at 93 degrees. So, I think their normal high is in the 50s. So you got a serious situation developing with permafrost loss. And the significance of that is that permafrost has unlimited amounts, as far as we're concerned, for survival of methane and CO2 locked away in it. So methane is a greenhouse gas. It can vent off, and when it does, it's 160 times more potent for 2 years than is CO2. So it's a horrible greenhouse gas, and unless the microbes get at it, it escapes in the atmosphere. And an interesting study has been that the microbes that give off the methane are more prevalent when it gets warmer out than are the microbes that eat up and create CO2. So as bad as it is to say, CO2 is more of a friend than is methane right now, and the methane is going astronomical up in the Arctic. Peat bogs are on fire up there. You have forest fires going on. The Russians can't put it out because it's obviously in the middle of nowhere, and they have very few people per square mile, let alone trying to put out giant peat bog fires or forest fires. Once you get a peat bog fire, it's kind of hard to put out. They put out a lot of CO2, and not only, instead of becoming a carbon sink, the forest, the taiga forest and all up in Russia and around the Arctic Circle area, instead of becoming a carbon sink, they've become a carbon emitter, which is happening in the Amazon as well. The Amazon has lost 17% of its forests, and it's on the edge of collapse as far as you start losing an area of the Amazon, and you get heating, and with the heating, then the trees can't survive because you change their whole environment. With more heating, you get less rain or more rain, you get soil erosion, a whole host of problems develop. So all of a sudden you get 25% loss of the forest, and then 30, 40, and then it just spills over into a tipping point. Back to, up in the Arctic area. So you're going to end up with not only peat bog fires and forest fires, but you also get sea ice loss in the Arctic, and it's a cooling effect will be lost as well. Right now, along the Arctic sea ice, once you get a few feet above sea level where the ice is, around the North Pole, the temperatures are somewhere around 35 to 38 degrees Fahrenheit. So what that means is that the ice will slowly melt, and then eventually it'll melt all at once the warm water gets involved from the northern Russia's 4 seas involved, which are basically ice-free. So you got a situation, there is no good news here going on right now because no one's doing anything. I'd love to just sit here and give you kitty cats and flowers answers all day long and say, oh, everything's wonderful, but it's not. And this is straight up in your face talk, and it's what Extinction Rebellion does as well. And we need to get at it. The politicians don't realize the dire situation we're in. Right now, I think we've entered if this was a black hole, we have entered the event horizon, which is the area outside the black hole that you don't know you're in it till you're actually in it. And over time, you look back and go, oh, that's when we entered the event horizon. Well, that's where we are with climate change. Something serious has happened with the whole ecosystem, and we're in a meltdown situation that we're getting massive feedback loops on everything, and if we survive this in the next 6 years, I'll be extremely surprised. Next 3 years will be the telling card as to how bad things are going to get. You end up, such as Pakistan right now, is 116 to 121 degrees Fahrenheit. It's unsurvivable to have that. You can't be expected to grow food or have habitat when it's that warm out. And when it's that warm out, you end up with a wet bulb situation, which is the human body cannot cool down once it gets up to 96 degrees or 35 degrees Celsius. When it's outside, when it's 96 degrees or 35 Celsius, it can't cool down. And so it's a situation where you have your body overheats, and just like an animal that's been chased for hours on the open plains, it overheats and it eventually gives up and dies. So after several hours of this exposure to extreme heat, you're going to have a problem. So right now, your politicians are sitting back and doing nothing, and they're not helping with the climate change situation. They won't report the reality of what's happening, and most people don't even know what's happening as far as how bad things are. And the politicians definitely refuse to acknowledge it. They have access to information. I'm no genius here. All I do is go research information throughout the news and various publications constantly, and also on YouTube. So they have staff that do this, and they're choosing not to do it. They just want to be reelected, and this won't work. This plan they have going on had worked before, but now it's a situation where you can't hide the fact of what's happening outside, and also with the economy as well. So this Green New Deal that everyone is touting, that says we're going to be at zero emissions by 2050. You do realize that's 27 years from now. So think about how your lives have changed and the environment has changed in 27 years. And that's where we are right now. There's no way we're going to be around in 27 years to worry about a zero emissions. We will have zero emissions because humans won't exist at that point. So the question comes down to, are your politicians that you're electing, are they really on top of things? Do they really know what's happening? Or are they old curmudgeons that just want to stay in the same situation that they've always been in? It seems like they just want to retain power, and that's about it. So you need to start thinking about who you want in charge. It's nice to have a chest thumper and a militaristic corporatist in charge, and that's what you have right now, and that's why you're in this situation. I said nice sarcastically. What we need now are people that are environmentally oriented. Around the world we need it as well, and quit trying to blow the crap out of each other for no reason because you got some sort of difference. What's going to happen is that these countries have these militaristic oriented societies are going to drag us all down right into extinction, and because you're so worried about defending yourself rather than going forward and trying to save yourself. So the American Indians say that we got to look 7 generations ahead, and to be honest with you, I don't see us getting out of this more than 1 decade ahead. So unless things change, you're going to be changed, and it's going to be a horrible situation. You think coronavirus is bad with the shutdown, just wait. So I suggest everyone gets out, does their protests. No one's out here again as usual. No one gives a crap. People don't understand. They're too locked into this coronavirus thing constantly, and it's very important. But you're talking the difference between getting sick and many people dying, and the difference between people dying all over the place by the billions, not the millions, not the hundreds of thousands, but by the billions. So you're going to have mass migration, food insecurity, and social collapse with your governments. So I suggest people start getting out and start protesting, becoming aware, start studying things. There are people on the internet. You can go to YouTube, study Paul Beckwith, Peter Wadhams, Peter Carter, Environmental Coffee House. They do real good talks. Extinction Rebellion. They're really smart people in there. So you need to go on YouTube and really start studying for your own sake, and don't just take my word for it. But I wholly encourage you to go to Tanya's and my website and actually read the articles that I've been posting constantly for the last 6-7 years. That'll give you a really good idea what's happening, and you will become an expert pretty quickly. It takes a long time to learn things, but once you know it, you know it. But this climate change thing is really complicated because you're not only dealing with science, you're also dealing with people and psychology, and that's really hard to crack this nut. So I think that there are very few people around this country that are still protesting, and we're in trouble. We're in big trouble, and think about who you're voting for, and whether your 2 parties that we have in the United States are actually the parties for you, or the people within those parties are the people for you. You can change your parties from within, but it's got to start being radical change very soon, like right now. If you keep going, move the needle a little bit at a time. Hold on. If people keep thinking that changing the needle a little bit of a time is going to get it done, it's not. We will die, and I give it 3 to 6 years till all hell breaks loose, as it is now. So good luck, people. Get out there, start doing your part. You're not doing it right now, and I'm not doing as much as I should be doing as well. All right, I'll see you next week. It'll be the 10th of July, and that'll be Climate Change Emergency Protest number 83. I wish I was more positive for you, but hopefully I will be someday when things start mellowing out and we get back to where things should be headed. See you later. Bye.